Japan and India, Mr. Monga, Director, Virgo Consultants, Murahashi-san, Chief Director General, Jetro in India, Mr. Kulkarni, JDC Service Delivery Head and Vice President, TCS Japan, Takayama-san, Head of Corporate Strategy Planning at NEC Corporation, and of course, we have Mr. Ralan and my friend Bharat here. And all friends from India and Japan, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon. And of course, like I said, we are discussing today under the aegis of India-Japan Friendship Forum, a slightly different topic, but very, very relevant when we talk of India-Japan partnerships on future of digitalization and digital services. This probably is very relevant for India-Japan Friendship Forum because this is a very, very people-to-people subject where not only the IT and the digitalization industry, but the entire economy of a country, which is now more and more dependent on digitalization, depends. So I thank you all for being here. Digitalization, of course, as we all know, has not only been relevant for all governments around the world for the last 2 to 3 decades, but I think last 1.5 years have only made it move on a very, very fast track because and it's becoming a way of life today. The way we are meeting today is a perfect example of that, though it's become a very hygiene example today. Indian ITS companies probably need a very little introduction, and we've been playing a integral role in driving digital transformation and acceleration, not only in India and around the world, but even in Japan. The presence of TCS Japan today is a perfect example for that. We, of course, bring on the table a very unique combination of not only a deep domain knowledge, technical expertise, but also, the ability to reach out globally and actually execute locally. So we have a model which has changed over the last 10 years where all the projects are no more offshore. They are largely deploying local people and local operational base to execute projects. And Japan has been no different. And we'll probably hear from the speakers today on how these collaborations are happening. These, of course, are going to help not only India but also Japan in working and helping the other Japanese Fortune 500 companies towards their digital transformation. There's been large-scale digitalization, as you all are aware, around the world. There have been several reports that suggest that the Indian IT industry itself could reach about $350 billion in the next 5 years, and it's already growing at a rate of 10%. Of this, digital services by itself comprises about 30%. So that's one stream which we need to focus when we talk of digitalization. It has to come together with services. And when we talk of digitalization and services, I think AI, machine learning, big data analytics, these are the things which are going to drive the future growth as Internet of Things, or what we call Industry 4.0, are the future for an economy to, I would say, survive and grow on. These technologies are very well ingrained in the Indian IT industry, as I also believe is there in Japan. In fact, when we were there a couple of years back for the India-Japan Business Cooperation Committee meeting, we were told that AI is one subject which is all driven in English in Japan. So which itself shows that while the IT and the digitalization industry was largely anchored around English anyways, but there was a lot of localization happening from country to country to suit local consumers. But AI and machine learning is largely driven by English, so which means that collaboration between India and Japan becomes all the more easier and feasible. When we come to this subject, FICCI, of course, has been doing a lot on not only IT and digitalization areas with various countries around the world, but idea of doing this program today under the banner of India-Japan Friendship Forum was actually to bring this possibility, which is, like I mentioned, a very highly people-oriented ecosystem to the forefront so that that could lead to the next level of growth between India and Japan economic engagement. And before I close with these words, I think I would just like to say that in the discussions today we should come out, and we've already requested Miyamoto-san to come out with a few takeaways so that we could build on that and probably look at slightly more focused and deeper involvement of the IT and digitalization industry at both ends to carry this initiative forward. Thank you once again to you all for joining us today, and I wish you all a very good discussion in the next 1 hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish, for setting the tone for the session. I would like to invite Mr. Shingo Miyamoto-san, Minister, Head of Economic Session, Embassy of Japan in India. Mr. Miyamoto-san joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 1994. Since then, he has served at several key positions, including, the Second Secretary Permanent Mission of Japan to the UN, with the National Security Policy Division of MOFA, and with the South East Asia Division, Southeast and Southwest Asian Affairs Department of MOFA. So I would like to request Miyamoto-san for a welcome remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Ambassador Wadwa, Manish Shinhalji, Mongaji, Harachi, Murahashi-san, Mr. Kulkarni, and Takayama-san. Very good morning to everyone. Thank you very much for providing me an opportunity to meet with you in this format in this important seminar. It really feels good to see the faces of everyone because I feel very comfortable with all of you. I feel like I'm in a gathering of friends. I hope that we can do this sometime soon in physical format. I think the conditions are there in India right now. And we will see what happens with this Omicron variant. But hopefully we will get over this and get together in physical format as soon as possible. Japan has a new government now, and it is led by our new Prime Minister, Mr. Kishida, who has served for a long time as Foreign Minister. He knows India well, and we have a new Foreign Minister as well, Mr. Hayashi, who has had a telephone conversation with Minister Jaishankar very recently. So we have entered a new phase of diplomatic relations between Japan and India, and we look forward to developing this long-standing friendship with India under this new leadership in Japan. Now, it has been, I guess, over 30 years since Maruti Suzuki came to India, and a lot of Japanese companies have come to India already. However, I think we are at a stage where we are looking at some new areas of cooperation. And I think digital or energy, sustainability, these are the new areas where our two countries can work together and must work together in the future. So I think this seminar itself is very much timely. Now, I will not take too much of your time, but just to frame the discussion, I guess, I would like to touch on a couple of things. Number one, I think we knew that the area of digital is extremely important and has huge potential. But I think during the Corona pandemic era, we have felt this, firsthand in the lives of all of us. So this was, in a way, an opportunity. It's strange to call the pandemic an opportunity, but it is, in a way, an opportunity which has kind of familiarized all of us to this change, which is, I think, accelerating because of this. We also saw that during the corona pandemic, we experienced a lot of difficulties in terms of maintaining the supply chain. And I think that the digital technology is and can play a bigger role in trying to address this issue to make sure that we have a more resilient supply chain. We have a framework called SCRI between Japan, India, and Australia. This is one example of a forum where we are discussing such things, but we look forward to further cooperation in this area with India. Now, second thing is, this is also known to everyone, but if you speak of this area of IT and digital technology, it is not necessarily true that Japan is ahead of India. It's actually the case that introduction of such technologies and methods is way more advanced in India than in Japan. So when we speak of cooperation in this area, we should not think of it typically speaking, decade ago, maybe 2 decades ago, when we spoke of Japan-India cooperation, it was often spoken of in the context of Japan providing economic assistance to India, naturally. But this is a thing of the past, I think. In this area of IT and digital technology that we're discussing right now, it's different. So we both have a role to play. Japan has an aged society. We have the technology, but I think the introduction of the technology is way advanced in India. You have all the, highly capable engineers in this field. And I think the mutual complementarity between our two countries and the potential, I think, for Japan to benefit from such cooperation is much bigger in this area. As you can see in the number of unicorns that you have in India, until 2020, there was only 38. Now you have over 70. So you have this amazing change going on in India. So we look forward to cooperation in this area, including in areas like health tech, educational tech, food tech, everything. So I really look forward to the discussion that we are going to have in this area today. Lastly, I would just want to mention that next year marks the 70th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between Japan and India. We all know this. And I think that we can use this as an opportunity to achieve the next leap in our cooperation and friendship. And this area of cooperation in digital technology is not an exception to that. So once again, I really would like to thank IJFF for organizing this webinar and just say that it's very timely. I look forward to the discussions to come in today's session. And I hope that it will provide some useful ideas for further enhancing the cooperation between our two countries in this very important field. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miyamoto-san. Yeah, thank you very much, Miyamoto-san. Now move on and would like to invite Ambassador Deepa Gopalan Wadhwa for the opening remarks. Ambassador Wadhwa, she is the chairperson of India-Japan Friendship Forum and a former Indian ambassador to Japan. She has been a career diplomat. Spent more than 36 years at the Indian Foreign Services. She has served as an ambassador of India to Japan, Qatar, Sweden. Miss Ambassador Wadhwa is currently chairperson of the India-Japan Friendship Forum, and she is also a member, governing council of the Institute of the Chinese Studies, and is on the governing council of the Asian Conference based in Shillong. Over to you, Ambassador Wadhwa, for opening remarks, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. I'm so happy finally that we're able to do something under the aegis of the India-Japan for the IJFF, because it's been it was set up to sort of bring our two countries together, but this is people, but across all sectors. So I wasn't very much in favor of the compartmentalization of what the IJFF did into just people to people or just industry or just politics, but I think we have a very wide remit. But this is a very interesting subject, the digitalization and digital services, because it is to do with industry, it is to do with transformation, it is to do with what both our countries and our companies can do together, because we come with different strengths, we have different policies. Both countries are giving a lot of importance now to digitalization. But I think also what is at the heart of it? The heart of it is to provide better quality services for our people. And I think in this, there is so much that we can, really learn from each other. I'm really happy that, we have such a good, I think, participation today. Mr. Raylan, Miyamoto-san and Murahashi-san, thank you so much for being here. Your encouragement is very important for better collaboration between certainly India and Japan in the area of, of business and so on. And thank you to all the Indian speakers we have today. Manish, thank you for helping us organize this. What are we looking at today? We're really looking at taking away from this session practical stories of where the cooperation has worked, where both our countries are coming from, where we were, where we are coming from. A comparison really then of strengths which have been unexplored. And I'm also hoping, and I will mention this in passing also, the fact that yes, India kind of got branded because of its IT and ITES around the world. And I saw this myself as an ambassador and as a diplomat, serving abroad, that somehow the image of India abroad changed because of our capabilities and our prowess and our big companies across the world. And so, that is certainly one area where there is recognition for India. But I mean, this is still at a very, very nascent and beginning sort of stage, particularly as far as I feel personally, as far as Japan is concerned. So I think here, if we can go away from this meeting with a kind of roadmap and saying what can we do in more concrete terms, it would be wonderful. Let me just set the stage a little bit. I think the speakers before me have mentioned it. During this COVID-19, really, we've been under attack, and it was kind of the wounds, the economic wounds of this entire experience of the last 2 years. One sector which has done very well, really, and it's sad to say, and you mentioned it, Miyamoto-san, has really been the IT sector. The IT, particularly the IT services sector, has done very well. If you look at the large companies, and we have Mr. Kulkarni here with us, I mean, it's been really, in terms of revenue, double-digit growth, all of them, and across the board. And a lot of this has come really from what Indian companies and our top technology giants have been doing outside India in the area of digital transformation of industry across the world. I know myself, I have an association with one of these companies, and I do know how good the last couple of years have been. What I do also see, and I'll be very honest, this is between friends here and people who know India and Japan are committed to this relationship, is that while in Europe and in US there is recognition and we are kind of courted by the big conglomerates there, I find that Japan is moving much slower than I would like it to move. And I think this is because there are lots of issues here, and maybe we can talk about it. Is it that there is still a little bit of that hangover of the past, that, India was a recipient more than the giver in different areas, and rightly so, and we required it. You talked about Maruti Suzuki in terms of technology, in terms of investment, in terms of, management skills across the board, and, training. There's so much we have to learn from Japan, and we need to do that. But this perhaps is one area where we can truly partner ourselves, given, have this complementarity that we have also of strengths, and bring them together where we can, help each other and be leaders. Again, when you look at this area briefly, of course, what has happened in India is that Prime Minister Modi, I think in 2015, and he didn't anticipate the COVID pandemic, but what he did was to bring together on one platform a lot of, IT initiatives that we had to do with governance. So, UID that we already had, this UPI, building up infrastructure and so on. And he brought it together on one platform, and that really helped us. I was looking at some figures which said that when when Digital India was launched in 2015, it said that penetration of internet connections was just about 19%. Now it's closer to 55%. And mobile connections again has grown exponentially. It stands about 84%. So I think this has been very useful to, in a way, get all the different silos together onto one platform. What we have also seen is that in Japan, as Miyamoto-san mentioned, that starting with Prime Minister Suga, he decided not only that digitalization was very important for Japan, but he also set up a ministry. So you have a minister, a separate minister in both Prime Minister Suga's cabinet, and now again with the present Prime Minister, we have the same. Kishida-san has made sure that there is a separate minister, and this time it happens to be a lady, so maybe she will do better than all the others before. But they have the importance that Japan is giving also to digitalization. So now, in the context of our bilateral relations, what has happened? A couple of things have happened. I think in 2018 we set up an India-Japan digital partnership, and under that there have been several meetings. Our ministers have been meeting. I think there was Manish made mention of this fund of funds which has been set up, which is really to look at investments in Indian startups in the areas of IoT and AI and so on. And I think they're doing rather well. And the third aspect, which is very interesting, Mehmet-san, you mentioned what can we do in third geographies? You talked about the SCRI, but as you know, the Quad also, which is Japan, India, and Australia, and the US. There's an entire subgroup that is looking at digitization and services. So I think there are the platforms are there. We have to really bring intent, take intent and convert this into concrete action. One way that I will just leave as an idea perhaps would be, and it's happened, we will hear from Mr. Kulkarni, is to have a strong partner on both sides. So maybe one big Indian company and a Japanese company. And this matchmaking is perhaps where people like Miyamoto-san, Murahashi-san, the others who are here can assist this process. And so when there's already familiarity between companies in different areas, but maybe this is a new frontier that we can open. So it is with just these few words that I want to set the tone for what we are hoping to hear from the speakers here. I'm particularly interested to know the good examples from India, the good examples of cooperation with Japan, and where we can work together bilaterally, and we can work together in third geographies and multilaterally. But thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Ambassador Wadhwa. Very well said from the recipient to giver in partnership, ma'am. Moving on, I would like to invite Mr. Kanav Monga, the Managing Director of Virgo Corporation. It's a very well-known business house in the India-Japan business for over 5 decades. Kanav has been over with the organization for over 18 years, and during his tenure, a lot of things happened. Introduction of bio-crude oil technology from agriculture waste, including rice, 5G related technology from Japan, facilitating business engagement in the space of ICT between Japan and India. So he's recently set up a track 1.5 dialogue between Japan, India, and the US. So over to you, Kanav, for your remarks, please.
Thanks very much, Gaurav. That's really appreciated for the kind introduction. Thank you, Ambassador Wadhwa, Fiki, and the Embassy of Japan for having me on this session. It's a great honor with all the members of the panel here with me to discuss this. So as Ambassador Wadhwa did mention, that I think the real impetus of the India-Japan digital cooperation really kicked off perhaps in 2015 when Prime Minister Modi really laid out the Digital India plan. But I think more importantly, it also laid out the plan for India-Japan when in 2018, the government of Japan and the government of India under the line ministries did sign a digital cooperation agreement. And I think that perhaps came from the vision of where we were headed with the latest high-speed technologies such as 5G. And perhaps the governments then saw that there were security-related challenges that were going to come up front as far as those technologies were concerned. So in 2018, this really took off, and the two governments decided to work forward with this. Prior to this session, I did have the opportunity to briefly discuss with Ambassador Wadhwa of what we should be briefly talking about and how we can take this really forward. I think we really, as Ambassador Wadhwa has already mentioned, we have the platforms as far as taking this cooperation to the next level is concerned, and really taking advantage of these platforms and seeing where India now has the opportunity to work closely with Japan, and no longer as perhaps the recipient, at least in IT services, and more as a collaborative approach going forward, I think is certainly the way forward. And I would just like to outline a few of these ideas that I have in mind. There is a lot of talk about artificial intelligence, but the new term that's now being coined is ethical artificial intelligence, because the kind of data privacy challenges that one has to deal with today, the term now is ethical artificial intelligence. And I personally very, very strongly believe there is no more ethical country than Japan, perhaps. And then why should we both countries not cooperate as far as ethical artificial intelligence is concerned? I think it's high time that Japan really understands what India thus far has achieved in terms of artificial intelligence. One of the ideas is that for any algorithm to be really smartened up, it needs a lot of data. And India certainly has that opportunity to provide that data. I see Takayama-san from NEC here, which happens to be a global leader as far as artificial intelligence in facial recognition is concerned. I think the biggest opportunity is the kind of faces that you will find in 1.3 billion people here in India. To really smarten up your algorithms, you should really think of creating that opportunity, working closely with India. The other area that I feel Japan did it in the past with their own JCB credit cards, but India certainly has leapfrogged that in terms of numbers with our RuPay card. Under Prime Minister Modi, we did set the Guinness Book of World Record in opening bank accounts in 1 week. I think the number that I have here is 18 million bank accounts in a week were digitally opened here in India in the week of August 23rd, 2014. And today, as we stand, the RuPay card penetration under the Jan Dhan vision of the Prime Minister, we have over 60 million RuPay based cards in India, whether those are debit or credit. And I think it's a question of time where companies such as Visa and MasterCard will really see this as a challenge going forward. I know for a fact last week, Visa has made a very, very deep-rooted position of themselves to the US government, of a government of India tried to promote RuPay. But I think these are, apart from the fact of what's happening on the space as far as bilateral trade is concerned, I think what I'm trying to say here is India really has that potential and has achieved significant targets as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. The other areas that I feel very, very strongly are an area that both countries can collaborate, of course, is new generation communication technologies, such as 5G. The days, I think, of ICT technologies of being from a single vendor are way gone. I think it's more an open architecture space that we are now looking at globally. And Japan perhaps has shown the way that one company cannot do everything and there has to be collaboration. So I think something known as what is commonly known as the Open Radio Access Network technology. I know TCS, we have a gentleman on the panel here, is working deeply on the open architecture for ICT technologies. I know global companies such as NEC are working on that. And that perhaps creates a platform where you're not dependent on a single country or a single company in terms of working on that. These are new technologies. And again, coming back to numbers, what Ambassador Wadhwa mentioned about 84% penetration in the telecom space. 84%, if you put that down in numbers, I think we perhaps have the second largest market as far as telecom industry is concerned. And there is a significant opportunity to work in that space as well together. So artificial intelligence, telecom is another one. And the third area that I think now is really catching on is the semiconductor space. I know Japan has recently announced working closely with a company from Taiwan, one of the world leaders, and setting up their own semicon chip manufacturing in wafer manufacturing in Japan. India for many years has been trying to do that. Unfortunately, we've not succeeded in attracting the right investment in the semicon space here in India. But I think, again, it's a question of time of when we will actually achieve that. And it's not if, but it's a question of when. And I think, again, here, Japan perhaps may not see opportunity in terms of setting up or partnering with us and setting up a lab here in India. But I think what India can really offer, and we have the ecosystem, is in the semiconductor design space. India today happens to be one of the global powerhouses as far as semicon design space or industry is concerned here in India. And that is one area, at least in the semicon space, that both countries can really think of collaborating. So I think these are the three areas that I personally feel that there is significant traction that we can really leapfrog and really show to the world that we can partner together and work on together. There are a few success stories also that I would like to highlight, which have happened in the digital space in the recent past. And this basically leads from the fact of what I earlier mentioned about collaboration in the semicon space. One of the largest ICT companies in Japan has partnered with the IITs of India, not one, but multiple IITs, where they're looking to actually develop human resource jointly with that IIT in specific areas that have common interest as far as Japan-India is concerned. So that collaboration has taken off. Unfortunately, because of COVID, it's currently on a go slow, but I think with hopefully the Omicron not being a serious issue, there will be significant traction as far as that is concerned. There have been significant collaborations again in areas such as companies setting up design labs in India to really take advantage of that human resource for the global market. So these are areas that I think have significant traction. No relationship, I think, exists without significant headwinds or challenges that one may face in terms of a relationship, even though we have all the platforms that have been created to enhance this. One of the serious ones being the language barrier. I know the Japanese embassy, JETRO, etc., have made significant progress as far as their collaboration with the Jawaharlal Nehru University and the Japanese Language Center is concerned. So there is work going on in that space, but I think language is one area that more work can perhaps be done to ensure we try and somehow bridge that gap. There is obviously a significant factor in terms of job opportunity, even if you learn that language from an Indian standpoint. That is something I think can be addressed jointly under various platforms that we have. The other opportunity that Japan really opened up way back in 2018-19 is the equivalent of the green card for Indian students, Indian entrepreneurs, or people with high skills trying to migrate to Japan. I think that is something that, again, perhaps needs to be re-looked at in terms of attracting the right talent from here in India into Japan. The Japanese, of course, as companies, put a lot of impetus on trust. I think the Indian side perhaps has to ensure that we are trustworthy as far as the Japanese are concerned. I think this is, again, a bilateral thing that needs to be done between both sides. But I know trust plays an important part as far as Japan-India relationship is concerned. And finally, I have one point that I would like to leave with Murashi-san. I know he's making a lot of effort as far as this is concerned. I think the fundamental challenge here is the MSME sector in Japan, which still is pretty much absent here in India. And that I think somehow we need to really put some effort into enhancing the MSME sector participation in India. And that being the engine growth here in India and the engine growth in Japan, that will really add people to people movement between the two countries and really kick this relationship to the next level. So with these words, I think I've run out of time as well. Thank you very much, Ambassador Wadhwa and Fiki, for having me and allowing me to speak at this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kanav, for your remarks. Now move on. You'd like to invite Yasuyuki Murahashi-san, the Chief Director General of JETRO India. He's been associated with JETRO since 1989, and he has served as the Director General of Manufacturing Industry Department, Market Development and Trade Fair Department of JETRO headquarters in Tokyo. He's been posted, at the overseas office of JETRO in Kuala Lumpur. Tel Aviv, Riyadh, and Istanbul. Over to you, Mr. Murahashi-san, for your remarks, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for introducing me. So I'm very good honor to participate in this event, and especially thank you very much thanks to Ambassador Deepa Wadwa to arrange this kind of wonderful forums. So I think today's theme, I think maybe it's better to share our experience to promote digital cooperation between Japan and India. So as you may know, JETRO has been a total effort to support Japanese investment in India last 15 years, especially in the manufacturing sector, automotive or machineries. So we established sort of Japan Industrial Park, like Nibrana in Rajasthan, Mandal in Gujarat. So we can find several good success stories in these activities. But recently, especially since 2018, as somebody mentioned, our government agreed Japan-India Digital Partnership. Under this scheme, we accelerate to promote business in digital transformation. So first step is to establish the startup hub in Bangalore in 2018, which is to promote Japanese startup to in the Indian market. So for example, we find several success stories in these activities. Let me show a good example. So this is three companies JETRO support to their businesses to expand in India. Sagri, Amigumi, this is more related to agricultural businesses using IT technologies. So they are still ongoing, and their goal to make a profit as soon as possible, but still quite a good performance at the moment. Last one is Mirai Kikai, is a very unique technology, the fully automatic solar panel cleaning robot. So they already have the business in India, but they extend their business as much as possible. So India has huge solar panel industry especially in the western part of India. So this is a typical success story. So we like to bring more access companies which in this our fields. Oh, sorry. Then I think I like to share same times also we support Indian IT company to enter Japanese market. So this since 2017-18, we also have a good example. It's like success stories. This one also I can share a little bit. So these are list. So about 8-10 companies who already established their business in Japan, especially IT sector, softwares, AI design, or mobile application. This is all as areas related IT. But the important things to key factor to success to Japanese market is their penetration, effort to penetrate Japanese market. The business web, our market, our peoples, and also technology is important. And plus passion, they want to start business in Japan. So this three factor is very important to penetrate Japanese market. So we also continue support for Indian company to go to Japan. This is one of our main pillar, still main pillar at the moment. So in these activities, also we were focused on in terms of IT human resources. So JETRO started to cooperate with IIT Hyderabad and also JICA to have a Japan Day to attract the student to look for Japanese business opportunity and also work at Japanese companies. So luckily or unluckily, last 2 years, we cannot do it physically. So we do it on online basis. So it better way is more Japanese company can participate in the event. So we see some companies already hires the student from IIT Hyderabad or internship for certain period, 3 months, 6 months. So this human resources interaction also is developing. And in terms of IIT cooperation, our offices also started to cooperate with IIT Delhi here, especially introducing IIT Delhi startup or professors' idea or technology through Japanese companies. So we had 3 events, especially pitch event with IIT Delhi. So we can see some companies still negotiating the business interaction for the purposes. So also we are planning to extend the human resources cooperation, not only IIT Hyderabad, hopefully to other IIT or institute as well. So furthermore, somebody also mentioned the fund of funds. Also, we started 2020, some Japanese money to enter Indian startup through Indian venture capitals. Also, this is a quite new achievement. But through my experience last 2 years, although we did several events, however, still Japanese concern to Indian market is limited or not enough. We had several chances to talk about Japanese venture capital or Japanese big companies. They show some interest in India, but still they don't have concrete idea and also not doesn't understand very well what is happening in India. For example, Mr. Miyamoto said that India in 2021, this year, more than 30 unicorn are coming up. But this is quite, not many Japanese companies understand this situation. The money flowing in India, so many giant like states or other companies coming to India. So still we are not so, they are not so, understand the situation yet. So this limitation or some lack of awareness, we have to encourage to more Japanese company. So in this line, we JETRO create new platform, which called is JBridge. Sorry, this one. This is a JBridge, which is a Japan Innovation Bridge. So JBridge is a business platform to facilitate the collaboration between Japan company and overseas startup companies. So JETRO support the cross-border open innovation for accelerating digital transformation. So we identified several countries like India, Israel, Australia, US, and some Southeast European companies. Target area priority field is, of course, carbon neutral, healthcare, mobility, agriculture, retail, and smart cities. So we invite all Japanese companies to register in our platform. Also, same times in the future, also we invite foreign startups and the businesses to this platform as well. Our final goal is in the website or online system, they can interact each other to discuss the business opportunities and also business matching in the website. So this is our new idea. Just launched in this year, February, but still on the way to build the final platform at the moment. So in this platform, JETRO organize 1 or 2 events per month, like a pitch event or open innovation event, like a seminar for penetration to Indian market. So several themes we have. We will continue this kind of activities to attract Japanese company to be in our platform. So this is a new approach. And also, we support the concept of proof of concept. So new challenges for Japanese company is to try to Indian market. To its certain period, we support financially their activities. So in this 2021, we already identified 8 projects. In 2, or most of them is healthcare. 3 of them are healthcare. 3 of them is agriculture, agri-tech area. The other one is drone and also edtech. So this is we expect after half a year or 1 year, they will start to new business in India market. So this is also our new approach. So anyhow, we can see some movement or some interest from Japanese company, also Japanese SMEs, not only so big global giant like NEC. Mr. Takayama will present later on, but big company is already started to somehow around the activities or utilize human resources, but volume is still small. So we try to bottom up all Japanese businesses are concerned to India market to continue our effort to organize several activities. And I really hope after COVID situation will calm down, many Japanese people is coming to India to see, to meet the people and realize what's happening in India. So these times we're really looking for the coming these timings because many Japanese people want to visit. So our role is to intervene between Japan and India to encourage Japanese companies to know the India market or technologies and to create new businesses in new digital transformation eras. Also, we can contribute to meet the goal, SDGs goals or new energy or several fields to extend it. So I believe we can do many things with also government side, also private side. Or JETRO will continue our effort activities for our next new generation. So today, I'd like to share my experience and the JETRO activities so we can discuss more how we can encourage the businesses in this field. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Murashi-san, for your remarks. Moving on, I would like to invite Mr. Shashank Kulkarni. Is a JDC Service Delivery Head and Vice President, TCS Japan. His current role is the Service Delivery Head of Japan Centric Delivery Center based in Pune. JDS has been set up by the TCS to service all Japanese IT market needing special investments and maturity to manage unique complexities. Over to you, Mr. Kulkarni.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador Wadhwa, for inviting me, and it's really exciting for me hearing those opening speeches. I was just thinking, it's the time now, and the word that you use, friends, I think it's extremely emotional for me personally because I go long back in history, 1991, actually, when I visited Japan for the first time, after learning Japanese for 3 years in India, in Pune. Okay, so that was my kind of association way back. And here I am with all of you talking about Japanese and Indian collaboration. So I'm going to be very, slightly different in the sense that we come from actual experience. So the intent of my next few minutes is going to actually share what we had been through. It's also very exciting to note that where we are in terms of the whole DX journey. So I was just thinking I should probably being a technical person or a technologist, they can't think anything else but technology, right? So why can't I give a little bit more on technical aspects and a little bit, insight on what DX is all about. So I'll spend some time on that. I would like to also spend some time on the language part of it, what we had been actually doing and what has actually been our experience telling us, and what are the nuances out there. And I'd like to really end with some of our own learnings and how we are kind of encapsulating that in some of our frameworks as we speak. Little bit on TCS Japan. Yes, we are a joint venture company. It is also an exciting time for us to be able to work with external internals. So in the initial period of time. So when I entered in this role in 2016, I found that my own colleagues in Japan, I need to deal with in addition to the unknown spaces that I see often, who are my customers. Okay. So we have been through a huge amount of learning experience and also capturing that over a period of time. And I'd like to share some of them today. So please bear with me. I just want to share my presentation. So I want to just quickly spend a minute on what is the DX as we call it. Now, I'm necessarily putting it as a jigsaw puzzle and also putting the D smaller than the X. Okay. Why am I doing this is because it's more of a transformation than the digital actually we're looking at. And when I'm thinking of Japan, that actually is more true, where the transformation component when we talk of DX is more significant, and there are set of challenges and issues that we need to consider when we talk about DX. When we talk about DX, we are not necessarily talking about three components: people, business, and processes. And inside people, knowledge and workforce, retraining and coaching. Okay, so there is this is universal truth, by the way. There is nothing special about this picture. However, when we apply this to Japan, when we apply this to India, there are certain nuances which come out. Okay, because of culture, because of various behavioral aspects, and the aspects which are extremely important when we hit the actual Gemba level situations. Okay, so I'd like to highlight in TCS we are currently helping our customers in training. Okay, training on software development, for example. We are having our customers eager to know about software. Okay, now this is another very important sign of a change in Japan, because I'm expecting in years to come a lot of people are required to be retrained and refocused, or kind of used in a different way altogether by the organizations as well as the governments. And I see many organizations today, many CEOs today, CXOs today come to India, and they are having open conversations about this challenge, because they have excellent working force which was there till date, and they want to actually imagine their workforce to be capable and useful for the years to come. Second point I want to highlight is about the whole digital journey that our customers are taking today. One such example that I have pasted here up in the right hand corner is KAIS. Okay. Now, KAIS has taken and recently announced in the news, they are started working with us for last 6 months now. I had been fortunate to have monthly conversations with Iketeru-san, who is the CIO of KAIS, and be able to actually hear out what are their pain points and how we should help them into this journey. Some of the very obvious ones are there in terms of the manpower, as I already explained. but it's also about some nuances that I'll talk to about in the next slide. There is also a program that we are running for a customer in the construction industry. Now, construction industry, as you can imagine, it's a very, very peculiar situation that we find ourselves in, but it's a huge effort to actually come out with industry-leading performance and efficiency. It's actually suffering from a lot of years and years of accumulated documentation also, which is supposed to be documented, it's supposed to be automated. There are challenges in terms of retraining their own staff as well. So I'd like to just create a a very, very layman's view out here about what is DX and how can you visualize DX. So I'm taking a pyramid here. This is all IT I'm talking about. So just below this triangle, and which represents a particular IT system today, is the data infrastructure, right? Now, the data infrastructure can actually be either a build from scratch or a ramp of legacy systems. And then when we actually invest such an amount of effort out here, we actually can derive certain value from that particular application system, which is basically an internal application system for a particular organization. This has been our situation, and many organizations, including government organizations, are having such systems out there today, right? Now, what is happening as the organization is growing, and also the requirements of the organizations are changing, and the organization becomes big, is that such systems are required to be actually interconnected, okay? And they must actually fit seamlessly together, okay? So I have actually purposefully drawn this particular picture with some gaps out here. You know, there are some minor gaps which are going to be there when you build such systems, and you can go on actually building it and creating a very complex maze of systems working together. Now, the real goal that you're talking about is actually after you build, there is certain thing which is basically sitting on the top of those triangles representing those systems, which is the ultimate goal. So why am I saying I'm doing all this and explaining you very simple basics in IT is the complexity and is the basic level of integration that somebody spoke about a few minutes back in terms of collaborations, okay? It is no more the days where organization can be happy with the IT services that actually it has, and it is going to be very important that it actually opens up and make sure that it collaborates. What are different peculiarities of this whole thing happening? And if I were to just say and talk about takeaways, is a high degree of complexity, extremely high degree of complexity, and the IT systems built over the last few years in an exponential magnitude, a huge system getting built as we speak. There are multiple diverse teams. Okay, that is another very important aspect now. We are having teams, multiple geographies, multiple locations working together, and which are not just limited to only one particular vendor, but there are product vendors. There are multiple other vendors involved, putting all that jigsaw puzzle together. Data privacy security, I think somebody spoke about this earlier. There is no need of emphasizing this and becoming extremely important issue going forward. And because of all these three things, there is an automation everywhere needed in the IT itself. And we are talking about a lot of automation happening as we develop systems, as we maintain systems, as we actually have a lot in terms of being able to do automatically. Okay. Now, there are definite nuances associated with this automation and the way in which this automation is implemented while we are developing these systems. I want to actually just put some characteristics here from my perspective. I think given that system view that I just shared, it is very important to to really realize the public and private roles in the whole scheme of things here. It is no more the case that we are able to realize our goal, as I said in the last slide, or the ultimate penultimate benefit for the society as such. To Mr. Wadhwa's point, basically, it has to service the ultimately the the customers or the people in terms of either it is government or the private organizations. In order for us to be able to do that, realize that it's very, very important that we consider their roles and make sure that they are kind of interconnected and we make them, open also to a lot extent. Second point I've already touched upon. This is something which is already happening, isolated transformations, but interconnected. It can actually be platforms, as somebody said that TCS basically is into many places where we are building ecosystems. Mr. Munga, sorry. There is definite amount. There is a good amount of openness that is emphasized in different problems that people bring to us. In fact, we also have there is nothing mentioned here, but we also have a mechanism for building ecosystems in terms of networks of startups, networks of people who want to work with us as customers, and we create those. And there is an initiative called COIN, Co-Innovation Network, that TCS has, and there are many centers worldwide where we work with our customers. Another point that I thought very crucial in my experience when I deal with customers is the services sector. Okay, now once there is a good amount of work that we do for manufacturing customers, but we also do a lot of work for services customers, and I think there are many nuances of services customers which are now experienced. Omotenashi is something which is extremely close to Japan, the way of behavior, and it has its own value. As a person, I am really fascinated by it when I went to Japan for the first time, and I cannot forget my own personal experience visiting a Yasaiya. I mean, not let alone the professional trained person, but a street vendor, right? Now, that particular value versus another value of cost. Okay. Now, how do you marry this? And many situations that I am facing today are kind of having an underlying trade-off, okay, so to say. And I think DX in Japan particularly is required to be, solving that problem as an initiative, and many organizations like yourself, all of us sitting here, are going to be kind of need to deal with such kind of trade-offs, and we need to really come up with, I want to come up with a Japan-specific solution to that. Now, as I also experience, there is a way in which uncertainty and ambiguity managed in Japan very differently, and often that is misinterpreted as risk appetite. Okay, now. There are behaviors, there are certain things that we must make Gemba level people comfortable with what is a change that is actually bring to them in terms of the DX. When we talk about DX, there is necessarily a change. And when we deploy IT system, new IT system to the customer organization, is the same change that every customer organizations go through. What is that change? Now, we are actually spending good amount of effort, not just by creating quality functional IT systems, but also to make sure that those systems are used in a manner where they actually go through a transformation themselves, our customers. So I was just thinking, why not have the just-in-time information also and decision making also in addition to the material availability definition of just-in-time. That is just a side remark. This is another quick sharing I want to do. Miyamoto-san mentioned that the change of COVID has accelerated overall digitization or digital movement worldwide. And this is actually nothing but 300 odd large customers, TCS customers, getting their experiences summarized by our CEO. This is available publicly. I encourage all of you to read through and get insights, and it can be extremely useful for us to have it as a reference. I have a barcode on the right hand side. Those of you can use that barcode to scan it and get to the link automatically. Moving on, next is a role of language. We are running this language as our core problem. And I would like to really highlight our learnings out here. There are certain facts that I think all of us understand. As a Japanese, it takes, learning Japanese takes a long time, right? Learning English for Japanese also is not an easy task. There is an often fear or anxiety to deal with the differences and divide. Okay, so there is a necessary initial hindrance, so to say, for communication when we talk about India, Japan, and necessarily Indian English, as we can see there in Nihongo and Eigo. Right? So what we have realized is that there is a way of managing this. There is a way, or there is definitely underlying aspects that are kind of misunderstood. Just a data point out there: 37.2 foreigners in Japan do not speak Japanese. Right? There are many today in JDC. We are having around 4,000 odd people working for Japanese customers, and we do have situations where an excellent guy in a technology area doesn't understand ABC, not even a single Japanese, obviously, because the experience that he comes from is from our major other customers, and that is exactly what a customer wants, actually, right? Now, how do you solve this problem of having an excellent guy, excellent experience worldwide, and being able to actually also communicate and having a smooth bridge with a Japanese customer? Now, we have a dedicated bilingual support system of translators and interpreters, and that actually is to a large extent automated. We are also working on how do you create intelligent ways of communication. We have a program called Hayaki, where we actually have selected a subset of the Japanese language words, and we teach our people over a period of 3, 4, 5 months who are already learned Japanese, but being able to actually be extremely effective in the business context that we are in. Okay, so that is another way or innovation that we are trying to bring to make sure that this communication bridge is bridged, and are fairly successful in that right now. I run, in fact, a bilingual service here in Pune, where complete bilinguals are supporting our Japanese customers. Okay, but I think more importantly, and that is the point which is missed completely by people, is I think more than the language, I think the mind connect is extremely crucial. Okay, I find there are monolinguals on both the sides working closely together, having friendships, and even having nomikais in the evening when they go to Japan. Okay, so I think it's sometimes I find that language barrier has actually been, it's again an unnecessary burden or hurdle that is created, and I think we need to really make sure that open-minded people actually can solve that problem very, very easily, is my submission. Last point, this is something that we had been working on for last few years. Japan-centric delivery model. As I said, people, technology, and process are crucial. We are encapsulating whatever we are learning into documents for people experiences, and also training continuously people who join JDC. By the way, JDC, I must also mention, is a unique venture by TCS for a particular geography. It is not there. Such a dedicated center does not exist for any other geography of TCS. But TCS has that vision of dedicating it for Japan. And we are here now, 7th year this year of the JV. And we are working on making sure that all of our experiences gets utilized as the experiences gets richer and richer. So with that, I want to take a pause. Thank you very much for your time. I hope this sharing was useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shashank, for your inputs. Just to share with the speakers that, we're running a bit late by 10 minutes. Let me invite our last speaker for today, Mr. Takayama-san, Head of Corporate Strategy and Planning, NEC Corporation India. He is responsible for managing midterm strategic plan and inorganic strategy in India. Prior to coming to India, he led global growth strategy in corporate strategy division at NEC Corporation Japan headquarters. Over to you, Mr. Takayama-san, for your views, please.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the giving great opportunity for me and NEC. So my name is Takayama from NEC Corporation India, and nice to meet you. So today I have a several slide. So today I would like to talk about co-creation for better tomorrow based on the great partnership between India and Japan, and of course driven by IT and the communication technologies as well. Okay, can you move to the next slide? Okay, so first of all, India and Japan. So this is the best and really symbolic relationship in the world. I believe. So there are some of key parameters, especially first one, 36 billion US dollar. This is cumulative investment amount from Japan since 2000. And bottom one, and over 100,000 additional jobs have been created by those Japan's investments. So we believe we, India and Japan, are very, very crucial partners each other in IT sector. Okay, please go to next. Yeah. So in such India IT sector, so we NEC is wanting to take important role as one of the biggest IT players in Japan. So we have more than 6 offices and 6,000 employees across India. And also we have R&D entity in the Bangalore as well. So if you look at the left-hand side, so we have multiple key domains like public safety, telecom, transportation, logistics, and the global development center, and so on. So those are our domains to provide solution to the customers. And right-hand side, we have multiple key technologies to resolve any IT challenges in India. So we provide wider range of IT solutions to contribute India society. Okay. Please go to next. Yep. So actually, we have more than 60 years experiences in India. Since that, so we have been trying to resolve so many challenges in India society. So here, there are some of those example projects. So for example, left the top one, we are providing export containers visualized tracking services with a joint venture between India government and NEC. And left the middle one, so we are supporting for other projects by providing backend biometric system. And the left bottom, we did a system integration for bus rapid transportation system, including for the Ahmedabad and 3 cities. And the right top one, so we are developing digital services for rural India with CSCE government services as one of major shareholders of them. And right in the middle, our surveillance system contributes crime rate reduction of throughout city. And last, right bottom one, we are enabling India society to utilize more robust connectivity by our submarine cable system. So those are some of examples of our contribution to Indian society. So from now on as well, we would like to keep making better society with India partners. Okay, so please go to next slide. Yeah, thank you. So especially here, so we would like to talk about our Japan origin technology capabilities. Especially these 4 Japan origin capabilities are our focus for Indian market in next 5 years. First one is submarine cable, as already shared. So this is very important, not only just connectivity improvement, but also national security as well. And we'll work on the submarine projects with multiple local partners. Okay. And second one, biometrics. So NEC's biometrics technologies are world #1 in terms of accuracy and speed. Already we are supporting for other, but we would like to expand opportunities to use these biometrics solutions for more multiple DX areas in India. And number 3, so 5G. So we are one of leading Open RAN 5G network providers, and we contribute to accelerate 5G network expansion in India. Okay, and last one, number 4, aviation. So actually, under COVID situation as of now, so aviation sector is facing tough situation, but our technology, including biometrics, AI, can support more touchless or safety and smooth operation, like a paperless boarding system and so on. So especially by using those Japan origin capabilities, we would like to focus on contributing India society. Anyway, without India partners, without India engineers, we cannot achieve to this. Okay. Please go to next. Yeah. So also other than technologies, so in terms of people, we try to do multiple initiatives. As mentioned, we have over 6,000 talent pool in India, especially for technology ECOE, including 5G, biometrics, AI, and big data. So we keep expanding such capable talent pool in India. And the middle one, actually, our headquarters in Japan is also keen on hiring talented graduates from IIT or other Tier 1, Tier 2 universities and colleges. Every year, our Tokyo Central Research Laboratory is hiring great talents from IIT directly. And the bottom one, so we have India's top-level Japanese bilingual team. So this professional team is bridging between India and Japan to accelerate projects. This is almost same as the Sushant-san's explanation, maybe. And one more note here, right-hand side. We have Japanese language training school, so-called NEC Japanese Language Academy. So this opens for all people other than NEC employees. So this education entity is the supporting to enhance Japanese language skill of young business persons and engineers. And we believe this is also contributing skill India initiatives as well. Already over 1,000 graduates from here. So this is one of our unique initiatives. Okay, please, next slide. Yeah, so this is my last slide. We are accelerating India with India partners and people for covering global. So we definitely leverage NEC Japan's wider ICT capabilities to empower the citizens, societies, and resolve social challenges across the globe through digital inclusion from India. And fully utilizing a strong and talented workforce to develop innovative solutions to create social value and building the next generation of talent, providing upskilling industry ready. So we will provide lots of professionals to grow from India. So those are we NEC's commitments for India. So those will be realized through India and Japan close partnership and collaboration. And NEC itself would like to lead this initiative with capable people and strong partners in India. Yes, that's my conclusion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Takayama-san. Now we are, entering into a very exciting phase of Q&A and the open discussion. And I'll got a couple of questions. So I request each speaker to, give their view within 30 seconds so that you finish on time. Before I come to Bharat, I would like to start it with Shashank. Shashank, Indian IT and IT's companies have been playing an integral role in driving this digital transformation and acceleration for the Japanese companies. So could you please share some success points highlighting this important contribution of Indian companies towards this?
It's a great phrase, as I said, to be in. First of all, because of new realization, common Japanese companies and their staff having to work from home, they are realizing this importance that we are now required to change. Okay, so that is point number one, which is an extremely important aspect in terms of having the change accepted at a Gemba level. Many places, this whole initiatives that we often undertake for our customers requiring plethora of services. Okay, now we are working with them for cloud, IoT, analytics, so on and so forth. And there's a plenty of opportunities today where the customers are looking forward to in Japan are looking forward to getting that crucial help. Typical problems, I'm saying very generically, that every customer faces are lack of manpower. Those who are there right now are overloaded, very, very highly overloaded, and they have problem, in fact, many times of not complying to the local government laws with respect to the overtime. They are highly skilled, but smaller in number. They need to have definitely a bridge in terms of language or communication to the ground level situation. Many times business sides also are looking forward to having great solutions, looking at Indian experience. Okay, so many places we are able to provide our customer business side of our customers. Maybe it is a retail customer or a best practice in insurance, or what I have done or we have as a thesis done for different customers worldwide, and bringing that experience to the table. So there is a combination of all this, and also collaboration, as I said, between all such streams is crucial for a customer. Size-wise, the nuances are different. Mid-sized companies in Japan would have substantially different requirements than bigger organizations. So my experience will be limited to a set of customers and may not represent overall Japan.
Thank you, Shashank. Very valid points. Coming to you, Bharat, would you like to share? Bharat is the director of ACTL. Would you like to share your experience in logistics, and because you have a tie-up with the NEC, digitization in logistics, and what are the greater takeaways, how we can contribute?
Thank you so much, Gaurav. Delighted to be here. And I must, before I begin, acknowledge this timing, fabulous timing of this important online event. And I think it must be timed surely by Ambassador Vadava on the day almost when the Parliament is discussing the cryptocurrency and the blockchain bills. Well, that was only half in jest, but it only goes to show how important these subjects are, which were until the pandemic pretty much, these esoteric subjects, and now everybody speaks about them. You already mentioned that, we're very honored to be working with NEC on the Logistics Data Bank project. Equally honored to be working with the Konoike family on the railways and logistics side. Now, digital, in a sense, will provide solutions or answers to many of our challenges today, whether it's climate, demographics, sustainability, or resilience. And Shingo-san, Miyamoto-san already mentioned resilient supply chains as well. Now, coming from logistics, you might think I only talk about supply chains and connectivity because in some ways, if all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So for me, everything is connectivity. But having said that, even our partners, Konoike, are looking at digital for, of course, these very issues. Now they're able to use augmented reality and virtual reality to not only increase productivity, where labor availability is a challenge in Japan, but also do it much more safely. So physical instruments or implements, including measurements, can now be done just for a smartphone, and it's getting better almost by the day. I'll just make one last brief comment that, while I think the sky is the limit, if one were to look at the earlier digital partnership agreement, it had like, 6 pillars, or 6 arrows, let's say, in Japanese style. And Jetro Murashi-san already has laid out the important work Jetro has done on all 6 of those, including, startups and corporate participation and so on. The one area which perhaps can be addressed anew, especially in these times, is of data. And several of our neighbors in Asia or in Indo-Pacific already are signing these digital economy agreements or digital FTAs or whatever. Now, we are very fortunate to have a CEPA in place already. So, we are, of course, FTA signatories, but digital and data perhaps could unlock tremendous potential. And, once we do this, it's not only data, but, now already our neighbors in the Indo-Pacific are developing 6G. We're hoping to get to 5G, but 6G is already, not just in theory, but very much, in the development stages. And hardware. Let's not forget that digitalization requires, like Japan requires the softer stuff. India requires, of course, a lot more of the harder stuff, right? Now, this meeting couldn't happen without electronic devices. So I'll end here now. But once again, thank you for this opportunity, and I'm delighted to be here. Thanks all.
Thank you, Bharat. Kanak, here, coming to you, please share your view within 30 seconds. What are some of the key areas and sectors where there's a potential for the Indian industry to serve as a strategic partner to the Japanese companies? Over to you, Kanak.
Thanks, Gaurav. I think the most fundamental area right now that we must work together happens to be 5G. I think with the geopolitical situation that we all are in currently, Japan has a lot to offer. India, in turn, has, I think, a lot to offer as well in terms of the market that we have in India, but also on the Open RAN side in terms of software development. I know TCS, for that matter, is doing a lot of work. So I think the immediate takeaway certainly is greater collaboration in the ICT space. Thanks.
Thank you, Kanak. I know that you have a flight to catch, so it's completely your. Coming to Miyamoto-san, a very quick question to you, sir. The government of Japan has a detailed policy for the digitization or digital transformation of Japan. The recently established digital agency is a huge step forward towards this vision. So, could you please elaborate on the key responsibilities and functions of this agency? I know within 30 seconds it's impossible to cover, but if you can, please. We can't. So you're on mute. We can't hear you. Could you please unmute yourself, Miyamoto-san?
Sorry about that. Well, I don't think I can explain their TOR in 30 seconds, and I would have to go check. But I think the idea is, as Ambassador Wadwa explained in the beginning, the Japanese government, since the previous administration, is very much cognizant of the need for the government to be united in tackling this issue. And as many governments face similar problems, we had this, the stovepiping of various ministries. They were introducing digitized systems for their administrative purposes, but then they didn't have compatibility with each other. So I think the chief idea that they would want to achieve through having a unified ministry in charge of this particular area is to have one system that is compatible with each other across the board, that would make for administrative purposes of people of Japan very much easier to apply it, make it various applications to the government and such. So and I think in this area there is various. Oh, should I do my summing up as well right now, or am I going to be given
Oh,
another?
later on, sir. I mean, I need to ask, two more
Oh,
questions to the
well,
Jetro
then
and
I'll
AC.
stop here then.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you. Would like to ask, Murahashi-san from the Jetro. There's a huge focus on digitization across government and businesses in Japan, which needs transformative steps and efforts by major industries or stakeholders to reform their operations, capitalize on emerging trends and all. What is the role you envisage for the Indian industry in supporting this vision?
So your question is our support in India.
Yeah, the role of the Indian industry in supporting the vision of the Japan vision of digitization across government and businesses in Japan.
I think actually, so digitalization is, of course, now every industry from Japanese company is to implement it, the technology wise and also idea wise. So I think just to penetration to the Indian market and Indian players is more important for. So more interaction between for two sides in their industries to approach to Japanese company and also Japanese company to response to their needs to the Indian companies. So such both side interaction is very much needed from now on. I think so to more encourage or to provide information and to make us some, how to say, now interaction between for both sides, the tanks of the interaction is very small. So we want to make a big trunk for each side. So many roles from government or private industry to, how to say, approach to them and provide the information on them to accelerate it for the interaction for both sides. So this function is very much needed, I think.
Thank you, sir. I would like to invite a very quick comment from Takayama-san. Could you please highlight some of the areas where there's an opportunity to collaborate with Indian partners, primarily through leveraging Indian expertise in ITs, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence? Your views, a quick view, sir.
Okay, so yes, although there are lots of areas where in Japan and India can collaborate each other. For example, 5G. So Japan's equipment and Japan's open RAN technologies can be developed with India. And also India's the biggest mobile market. So that's why mobile digital services can be developed by bringing each ideas, each seed technologies. And other than 5G, for example, that manufacturing area. So some of solution, and Japan is very strong, and some of services, some of solution in India is advanced. So then combining those, so we can make robust manufacturing, digital transformation services. That kind of services can be implemented in India manufacturing sector to accelerate Make in India initiatives. Yeah, I think so.
Thank you. So before I invite Ambassador Wadhwa for the vote of thanks, I would like to invite one final, comment from Miyamoto-san on the perspective from the Japanese side and the takeaway from today's session. Over to you, Miyamoto-san, please.
Thank you so much. In the interest of time, I don't think I will list all my takeaways on this occasion. But I will say that I feel like I got a lot of good ideas about what we could do together in this area. And I will say that, well, it's no secret that our bilateral high-level summit that we normally have every year has been pending for the almost past 2.5 years because of various circumstances. So we are both looking forward to someday in the near future when this can happen. And I think, well, at least for me, what I got as food for thought will be, I will act on those to the extent possible when there's this opportunity that shows up. So as the governments, I think we will be able to show some kind of commitment on how we try to promote further cooperation in this area. Now, my second takeaway is, when we look at all the important areas of cooperation that we could possibly or prospectively have that were listed today, I think one important thing is that we need to make sure that our people learn more about each other, including the language aspect, which was, I think, across the board, extremely important in order for us to be able to realize the potential of or the true potential of our cooperation. So the area of digital technology is a promising one because of the natural mutual complementarity of our strengths and weaknesses. So I think we should use this area as an entry point because it's a natural thing for our people to do. But then the goal would be to try to educate our peoples on both sides more deeply. Those of us who are here, we know each other very well, but we are, not the majority. So let's try to make a majority of our population to be aware of ourselves and how wonderful the potential and the friendship we have is. Thank you.
Thank you, Miyamoto-san. That was so cute, Bharat. We can see that. Let me invite Ambassador Wadhwa for the vote of thanks before we end today's program. Over to you, Ambassador Wadhwa.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. I've really been extremely overwhelmed by the kind of ideas we have got and the kind of response that there has been. I think it's been very enriching. It's one thing to know something in terms of theory and understand and see the very evident, mutualities of interest, complementarities, opportunities. We know all about it, but to really hear it from practitioners, I think this has been a great experience. What are we going to take away? What do I take away from this? In fact, I'm going to talk about probably more the positives we know, but the headwinds. And this is what we have to get over, the challenges. And I start with what Miyamoto-san mentioned, really the information deficit. We've got to know about each other's strengths. We've got to talk more. I think we've got to take this process forward. And I know we do have the India-Japan digital partnership, but I think we've got to take this, concrete sort of examples and what we can do forward. The other thing, I think there is a question which came out and it's linked perhaps to information deficits, a bit of a trust deficit. Do you really trust the other, particularly in the case of Japanese companies who say, okay, we are so used to looking at the US or Europe, can the Indians really deliver here? We've got to build that. How do we do it? Do we have more webinars? Do we plant more articles in the press? I don't know, but I think Indian industry should take the lead in this. And we really need to do this. It's very important. People have talked about the language issue. I know people are trying to tackle it. There is a language issue, and linked with this, I feel, there's also the cultural factors of, better communications. And I have this pet thing of cross-cultural communications, having lived in different parts of the world. I think we really, the more we talk and the more we understand where each one comes from, I think that will build the necessary trust that is there. We've talked about many sectors today, so we have the sectors before us. We've learned about platforms. Thank you very much, Murashi-san, for talking to us about this J-Bridge platform. We've also had some very interesting ideas that came up, and which I must mention. I mean, one, I think, is a security aspect, whether it's data security, whether it's cyber security, the whole issue of security, or the fact that NEC really helps us in terms of strategic security in the submarine cables that you are helping to link our far-flung islands. So there are many aspects of security. And Kanav is not here, but he raised something very interesting for us as democracies, the importance of ethical artificial intelligence. I think we're different from other countries, and that's why we work together. And I think that is very important too. So I'd really like to thank each one of you who's been here, who's contributed with ideas, your time and perspectives. For me, it's been a great learning experience. I don't want this to be the first and the only opportunities where we talk about digitalization and digital services and the opportunities. I hope this is just the beginning of a whole series of conversations in different formats that we can have on this. And thank you to each one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Wadia. So with this, we are coming to the end of today's webinar. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
ありがとうございました。